Okay. Good afternoon to all the participants for the today's webinar, which is a very important and hot topic in GST. That is leasing of movable property as well as immovable property. So we are going to discuss an area which has been touched by the authorities at different level, being industrial corporation land or say residential land of sidcos, hudcos, and different things are there. Then leasing of movable properties is also there, and for that we have two eminent faculties and our chairman. Our chairman Sushil Goyal ji is there, who is looking after all the GST activities of ICI. Thanks, Chairman Sir, for having a wonderful session and giving the subject and the faculties, and the questions are already been drafted. So we will discuss on that, and we will have opening remark of Sushil Goyal Sir. And along with that, we have Naresh Seth Sir, who is one of the best faculties in India, and I can say he's a real estate of ICI because he has a very good knowledge, very expert knowledge of GST on the real estate. And sir resides in Bombay but moves across India, and he has delivered a lot of lectures in WIRC, in ICAI, in BCAJ, in CREDI, and whatever forums you want, sir is there. And he is been referred as an authority whenever there is a issue related to real estates in GST. So welcome Naresh sir. Then we have another person जिनके नाम में ही कीर्ति है. The person himself is a famous person. He is from Madhya Pradesh, Indore. He is a regional council member there also, and he is a very regular writer in GST, having lot of experience on the issues of GST, and he writes in Dainik Bhaskar group, very down to earth and knowing the subject, knowing the ground realities of this subject. So welcome to you, Kirti Joshi sir. So with this, we have our chairman sir, Sushil Goyal sir, who is a master in GST, and his tips of GST are received by n number of members throughout the year. So he has a GST on it tips. So Sushil sir, I will request you to start with the opening remarks and give the background of this today's topic and its relevance in today's era. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Umesh Bhai. CA Umesh Sharma, Vice Chairman to GST and Indirect Tax Committee from Aurangabad. So when Umesh speak, nobody should speak. Umesh, I think all of you know. We have to follow him, not to counter him. So whatever he said, I fully endorse him. Thank you, Naresh ji, for joining this program as today's faculty from Mumbai, and Kirti Joshi. Thank you to you for joining from Indore. So we had two faculties, and me and Umesh. Umesh is working as a moderator to this program, and I will somewhere pinch in to give my comments wherever required, where Umesh will ask me. And this topic, which is selected by the committee, considering the need of this topic, why this topic has chosen, because a lot of litigations are going on. Lease is also taking place in case of immovable properties, and where government has discussed about the taxation. In the coming time, we all will discuss how this lease are taxable and where it is taxable and what exactly government wants and how it can be complied with. And it is immovable property like motor vehicle, and sometimes plant machinery equipments are also leased out. So how to tax this equipment, what will be the tax rate? There is total confusion because it is not normal taxation. Let me tell, the leasing transaction, which one might think that it is a normal transaction, if somebody has taken for a removable property on lease, he thinks that he has owner of the property as good. So, but for GST purpose, he is not considered as owner. He is not considered as transferee. Although in some of the states, the government is collecting the stamp duty on these lease transactions also. So, despite the stamp duty has been paid on these transactions, whether this transaction will be liable for GST, and if liable to GST, what value, what tax rate, and who is liable to pay and when. Because sometimes the lease are taken from the government, then government is not liable to pay tax. Might be the person who is taking lease that property is liable to pay tax under reverse charge. So number of issues are there, and let me request our Vice Chairman Umesh Sharma to start the topic. And he is nicely introduced both the speaker. And anyway, both the speakers are national fame, so not required any detailed introduction. So over to Umesh for taking direct hit with the first ball.
Thank you, Sushil sir, for your opening remarks and giving the background of the subject. Yes, this is a very important topic which we are going to discuss. Now let's move towards our panel discussion. We have a set of questions. Our participants can ask the questions in the link given for them when they have registered. So our panelists are able to see the questions, and as well as I will also take a few of the questions. So let's start with the first question. Naresh sir, what is a lease? And what are the different types of lease as per the accounting standards? Because we have to start this session from the base. As a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, we need to follow the accounting standards. So let's start from the basic, how it moves from the books of accounts. So what's your take, sir, on this first question, sir?
Thank you, Umesh. Umesh, I will, put one suggestion over here. I will take question number 1 and question number 7, which says what is the difference between leasing and renting. I think both will go hand to hand, sir.
Got it, sir.
So I will take that with liberty,
Yes.
with your due permission. Yeah. So friends, what is the lease? If we are dealing with the GST law, we'll go to section 2 to find out whether the GST law defines the lease or not. To everybody's surprise, the term lease is not defined in the GST law. You not in even rate notification, not even in the exemption notifications where the exemption to lease are given, etc., etc., etc. So as far as GST law is concerned, we do not get any guidance from the GST legislation. Then I go to the old service tax law, because service tax law also, but in service tax law also, even education guide, I do not find the express definition of the lease. So then what do? I go to the General Clauses Act. This is the generally, the procedure which I follow to interpret the law. So when I go to the term lease in the General Clauses Act, there also I am not finding the definition of lease. So my task has become more difficult. So I said, okay, if the lease of the immovable property is concerned, let me go to Transfer of Property Act. So friend, you will get the definition of the lease in section 105 or Transfer of Property Act. That is for a lease of immovable property, because Transfer of Property Act deals only with the immovable property. So the definition is we have to restrict to the immovable property. I will just read a definition for you. A lease of immovable property is a transfer of right to enjoy such property. The lease can be of the building, lease can be of the land, or it can be of both. Made for a certain time. It is given to a certain time, either express or implied, or in perpetuity. It may be 99 years, 999 years, or whatever. In consideration of a price paid or promised. You may pay the upfront premium, or you may say, okay, every year I'll pay this much of the lease premium, lease rentals. etc., etc. I am not reading entire definition. For us, this is enough. So let us be very clear. It is for the, I have been given a right to enjoy that property. Unfettered right I have been given. So now when I go to section, then one more act I have referred. What is the lease? Section 216 of the Indian Stamp Act. That also defines the lease. Lease means lease of immovable property and includes also everything, patta and all the things. So, I am getting slightly faint reference to the definition in Indian Stamp Act. And the Indian Stamp Act also gives a schedule of the stamp duty to be charged on the lease rentals, which is far different from the rent. See, in the Maharashtra Stamp Act, you have two tariff entry. One is, I think, 36, and other thing for the rent, it is 36A. So the Stamp Duty Act also, distinguish between the lease and the renting. The lease and the renting, it has been defined. It has been, the law by implication distinguishes it. So now we come to, and even in that Stamp Duty Act, the tariff, they say for the purpose of the calculation of the stamp duty, any consideration in form of a premium, advance, security deposit, by whatever name called, shall for the purpose of market value be treated as a consideration passed on. This is very important for the stamp duty purpose. They are taking wider definition than in our GST also. If you see that. So, and the renewal period is specifically mentioned shall be treated as a part of a present lease. कहने का मतलब आपका 30 years का lease है और 29 years का lease है, and they provide for extension of say another 10 years or 15 years. So that has also been counted at a additional lease period because your stamp duty is linked to the period of lease. So this is the stamp duty. So we have perused the Peripheral Act. Now we come to the specific question of our Umesh Bhai. Ind AS 116. What it says? What do you mean by lease? So 116 is very clear, very short definition. It says lease ka definition I am just telling you, a contract or a part of a contract or part of a contract that conveys the right to use an asset. Here they are talking of the asset. They are not talking of immovable property. It means movable, immovable both for a period of time in exchange of consideration. Very short definition. But unlike TOPA, it covers the leasing of an movable property also. Means movable property means Sushil Bhai has already told us, it can be machinery, it can be vehicle, it can be any equipment. All these things are movable, or also you can lease out the movables also. Even you can lease out the intangibles also. You can lease out the even intangibles also. So that this particular in-depth definition applies to all kind of lease. Having said this, what are the second question of our Umesh Saji was, what are the type of the lease as per Ind AS 116? There are two specific types they have given. One is a finance lease. One is a finance lease and other is a operating lease. So what is the difference between finance lease and the operating lease? A lease is classified as a finance lease if it transfers substantially all risk and reward incidental to the ownership of an underlying asset. In a financial lease, it is, in my opinion, it is quasi-ownership only. The day on which finance lease is entered, in a simple, in layman language, I will tell you, finance lease means what? You decide the sale price of your asset. आपको कितने साल में पैसा आने वाला है, उसकी time cost, interest cost, usage of the money, everything is factored, and then you work out what are the lease payable every year, quarter, half yearly, whatever as per the terms. So basically it is a combination of the sales price of your asset, and it is a combination of the the interest portion. we will not have the financial lease in the immovable property. Please understand. The financial lease is generally relevant only for the goods, movable property. Just keep this thing in mind.
Correct.
Substantially, risk and reward is past. What do you mean by risk and reward? Tomorrow, yes, suppose that today I have taken the machinery on lease from Kirti Bhai on financial lease. The machinery, I take possession, effective control and possession, both of the machinery. In leasing, you take effective control and possession, both of the machinery. Then the insurance, 99% insurance is on account of the lazy. It might have been provided in that lease the terms of lease ka contract hoga usme provide bhi kiya hoga. So that is the risk and reward. Tomorrow that machinery get destroyed in my factory, then what happens? That risk is also that of a lazy. That's why they say when the risk and reward is substantially transferred to the lazy in financial lease. The lease term is for the major part of the economic life of the underlying asset, even if title is not transferred. Very machinery ki economic life or a productive life is for the 7 years. So lease will be for more or less for the 7 years.
Correct.
The economic life is totally covered in my lease premium. The leasee transfer the ownership. Lease transfer the ownership of the underlying asset to the leasee by the end of the lease terms. Yet every lease deed, financial lease, you will have some clause over there. At the end of a tenure of the lease, the machinery will be transferred for 10,000 rupees or 15,000, very nominal amount, because you have covered your consideration along with the interest in your entire recovery of the lease rentals. And please understand, the leasee has an option to purchase the underlying asset at a price that is expected to be sufficiently lower than the fair value at the date of option becomes exercisable. Please understand, the lessee has been given only an option to buy it. That's why it is not a transfer of goods.
Correct.
It is not a transfer of goods, because if you are giving if the ownership is transferred on the first day, if it is said that lessee shall purchase at this rate, then perhaps we will have the dilemma whether it to treat as a goods or whether it to treat as a service. Because goods and service, people will ask me, Naresh bhai, दोनों का रेट तो एक है, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? But फर्क पड़ता है time of supply में फर्क पड़ता है. Perhaps ITC credit में in some situations there will be difference. Which rate to be David place of supply may be different, and maybe when you are going for an inverted rate structure ka refund, you get of the goods, you do not get of a service. So these are the all differences are there. So that's why usually lease rentals, this lease assigned leasing, mostly the lease is structured in a manner where it is usually I'm saying not 100%, I'm not saying, but usually it is a service transaction.
Correct.
At the inception date, the present value of the lease payment amounts to at least substantially all of fair value of the underlying asset. When I say bola aapko, okay, lease premium will cover your value of the asset also and your interest also. So I think these are the things which is
Perfect.
the generally distinguishing this is the
Yes.
financial lease.
Yes.
Now I come to the operating lease.
Yeah, because sir, you have given a very good background of this subject, and now we are moving toward operating lease, and then we will move to Kirti Joshi on the next question. Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir, before that, I have told you, Sushil Bhai has said when Umesh Sharma speaks, nobody else speaks, but I will take that much liberty to you because you are my friend. As I have told you, not only one, but question number 7 also I will cover, because renting is also there.
Yes.
So let me give you the total background so that एक के साथ में
Got it.
2-3 मिनट बोल दूंगा मैं, सर, don't worry about it. ये पहला क्वेश्चन है, तो it takes some time because you set the concept, correct?
Yes.
So now operating lease. Operating lease means generally this kind of lease are for a shorter period. It does not Generally, you do the operating lease, don't for the, you do for the entire economic life of your asset. आज मैंने कार दिया, कार का मेरा 5 साल का इकोनॉमिक लाइफ है, मैं 2 साल के लिए भी कार हायर पे दे सकता हूँ, 1 साल के लिए भी दे सकता हूँ, मशीनरी का भी सेम है. तो ऑपरेटिंग लीज इज बेसिकली basically I don't see any difference between the renting or hiring of the machine and the operating lease. In a layman language, I'll say it is nothing but a hire of a machinery for a mutually agreed terms करके. इसमें generally you don't factor your interest cost. Generally, machinery का क्या भाड़ा आता है market rate के ऊपर, ये वो things, you at the most you calculate the depreciation and other thing. That is the operating lease. As I told you, operating lease usually not for the period covering economic life. Generally, option of the buying underlying asset is never given in this, operating lease. मैंने कार आपको भाड़े पे दिया, मैं आपको बायंदरी नहीं देता हूं कि ये कार आपको 2 साल के बाद में बेचूंगा करके, So that is and the maintenance, insurance, etc. all are generally on the owner of the machinery, not the person who is hiring of the, unless until you draft the contract. But I am talking of a normal contract. Machinery belongs to you. Risk and reward, ownership, risk and reward is with you. So that is the thing. So I think these are the difference between, operating lease and this thing. Now I'm coming to the rent. Abhi renting is also, term rent is not defined in section 2 of the GST Act. Please understand that. The renting is defined in a rate notification 12/2017. Notification number 12/2017, para number 2ZZ. इसमें renting defined हुआ है. That is only for the immovable property. We have not heard the concept of renting of a movable property. Generally, we say hire of a movable property, correct? So 2ZZ defines only the renting of an immovable property, and I'll read the definition for I'll take only 1 minute for that. Renting in relation to immovable property means it is comprehensive definition. This means allowing, permitting, granting, access, entry, occupation, use, or any such facility, wholly or partly, in an immovable property, with or without transfer of possession or control of the said immovable property, and includes, these words are very important, and includes letting, leasing, and licensing or other similar arrangement. So as far as GST immovable property is concerned, the renting includes the letting, leasing, and licensing also. So there is definitely GST. The things are, watertight nahi hai. Ye renting hai, ye leasing of the property hai, renting hai, vagera. This is what I wanted to just convey to our participants.
Correct.
Then we have, as I have told you, we have entry 36 in the stamp duty tariff for the leasing. And we have entry 36A for the, stamping of the renting agreement. The stamp duty on the renting is much, much lower than the leasing. So if somebody asks me, Naresh bhai, leasing ka agreement hai ya renting ka agreement hai, main stamp duty dekhunga. And I will say, I as a, person who have given the, property on the lease or hire, I myself has, admitted by paying the stamp duty, whether it is lease document or it is rent document. And the government of Maharashtra has also assessed me accordingly. So I think this is the one of the basic factor you can take into account for distinguishing it is renting or leasing karke.
Correct.
And generally, in case of a renting, many states like our Maharashtra, we have the Rent Control Act. See, Bombay Rent Control Act. So tenants are protected under the law. As far as lease agreements are concerned, you have to go to the General Contract Act. Basically, you don't have that, like typical act. There's a Rent Control Act. Leasing with that kind of act is not there. You have to go by the normal your court process, civil procedure.
Yeah.
So I think these are the, generally lease. Lease means there is sense of, some sense of ownership. Sushil Bhai has rightly said. लीज ओनर ऑफ द लैंड समझता है मेरे खुद की जमीन है, मैं बेचता हूं तो लाइक लैंड इज फ्री करके, लैंड में यस देयर इज यू हैव मोर राइट्स देन द यूजुअल टेनेंट्स आर. It is very difficult to terminate the lease agreements. I have never seen any document where the lease of 30 years or 25 years or 20 years has been terminated. Unless even the lease is given to the industrial unit to construct the unit within 2 years. Even if the 2 years में नहीं बनाते, extension पे extension मिलते जाता है, because legally it is very difficult to terminate the lease agreement.
Got it, sir. Got it.
Otherwise, rent में हो सकता है. So I think with this, I will stop it here.
Yeah.
Because I think enough background I have given. I can go on speaking, but let me stop over here so that my colleague Kirti can speak on the second question. What Umesh bhai can, so I think you have covered 1 and 7 questions. Correct, sir?
यस सर. तो एक साथ पूरे क्वेश्चंस के बहुत से अच्छे अपने एक बैकग्राउंड सर ने दे दिया है. एंड दिस इज अ बैकग्राउंड विच इज ऑफ वेरी मच इम्पोर्टेंस, because if the foundation is strong, then a good building can be built up and many floors can come up. So we are now moving toward the next aspect. Sir has given us the leasing and operating aspects and all the things related to definitions. Thanks, sir. Kirti bhai, now over to you. When we come down to the GST, what will be the treatment of financial lease and operating lease? Your take on it?
So basically in GST Act, there is no discrimination regarding to financial lease or operating lease. So GST, there is no difference. So there in GST, there is a term of supply. And if we go through the definition of supply, section 7, so as per section 7 of the GST Act, supply includes all form of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, exchange, transfer, barter, rental, lease. So they have covered rental and lease also in the term, in the definition of supply. So we can say that if there is any lease or any rental agreement is there, so it falls under the definition of supply. So from the above definition, it is very clear that lease is covered within the meaning and scope of the supply. So lease, whether it's operating lease or it's a financial lease, lease is a supply. But if we go through the schedule 2nd of CGST Act 2017, then there is a clear guideline is there regarding to a transaction which is either treated as a supply of goods or treated as a supply of service. So if there is any transfer of title in the goods is there, so that is treated as a supply of goods. And if there is a transfer of right in the goods is there, or undivided shares of any goods without the transfer of title of goods is there, so it will be treated as a supply of service. So as far as GST is concerned, so we can say that they are not going to be differentiate any transaction on the basis of financial lease or on the basis of operating lease. So if there is any transaction in which the we can say that if suppose transfer if title is there, if the transfer of title is there, then it will be treated as a supply of goods, and otherwise it will be treated as a supply of service.
Correct. So Kirti bhai, you have given a very focused and very point answer to the question number 3 also, because that was pertaining to supply of goods and supply of services, and you have also covered that whether it's operating or whether it's a financial, it is a supply, and for the supply there is a definition in GST and we have to refer that. In the same manner, Kirti bhai, what are the important HSN code or SAC codes that to be kept in mind by our participants if they want to know more about GST and its leasing?
So we can say that there are majorly 4 HSN or SAC code. 9972 is in relation to leasing of services of immovable property, and the rate of tax is generally 18%. Second SAC code is 9966, which is in relation to renting and leasing of motor vehicles. So rate of tax is varies from 5% to 18% depending upon the terms and condition of the contract. We'll discuss later on कि कहाँ पर 5% लगेगा, कहाँ पर 12% लगेगा. And SSC code 9973 is there, which is in relation to other movable property like renting of construction machineries, computers with or without operator, televisions, LED screens, projectors, and audio systems, accessories, furniture, household equipment, right of use of intellectual property, leasing of software, etc. So, and another SSC code is there, which is 9986. And 9986 is in relation to agro machinery, which is a renting of agro machinery, which is covered under the exempted supply.
Yeah.
So should I cover all the points or?
Yeah. In short, you want to say if the goods are taxable,
goods are taxable,
then its lease will be also taxable. And if the goods are exempt,
it's not necessary in all the cases. Suppose if there is a lease of long-term lease of 30 years for industrial plots or development infrastructure or for financial business, and the lease is provided by the state government or development corporation, industrial development corporation, or any other undertaking where the 20% or more than 20% holding or ownership is of central government or state government. So there is exemption notification 12/2017. So I think so in relation to immovable property, Naresh Bhai is there. So he's going to cover all these exemption notification. But as far as the movable assets is concerned, so if suppose I have rented out some motor vehicle, rent-a-cab services I have provided, so that is covered under RCM.
Okay.
And the rate of tax is 5%. So we can take all these permutations and combinations. So renting of movable property is taken care by the Naresh sir. And if there is a renting of vehicle by state transport undertaking or local authorities, so it is exempted by way of exemption notification 12/2017. And if there is any motor vehicle which is provided by a person to any body corporate, and the rent is including cost of fuel, in that case the rate of tax is 5%. And it is covered under RCM. Otherwise, it is if the rent, if the cost is not included or fuel is not included in that, then the rate of tax would be the 12% and forward charge is applicable. Otherwise, it is exempted. It is taxable at the rate of 18%.
So you want to say that the participant should note that the few transaction may be exempt, few transaction may be taxable, few transaction may also come into RCM. So in every aspect of GST, forward charge, reverse charge, lease or renting will come. Sushil sir, when we discuss to both immovable and movable property, and you have listened to the 5-6 questions, what is your take on the few?
Both the learned speaker has correctly mentioned, but one question is coming to my mind out of this discussion. When we go for finance lease, when a transaction is considered as finance lease, the income which is derived, this is basically as good as a giving loan. That loan has, finance has been given by somebody, and in turn he is earning interest. So this type of transactions, wherever, because interest is outside the preview of GST, interest is not taxable except in case of delay payments when interest is charged and it is part of valuation under section 15. Other than that, if you have pure finance transactions, then interest is outside the preview of the tax net and no tax is chargeable. So in case of finance lease, I understand that the tax is not applicable because it is the income which is part, which is earned by this particular person who is financing the particular assets is earning interest only, and that's actually outside the tax net. But it is also clarified that if this person is charging some processing charge or documentation charges, then the tax will come on that. So this point I thought I should add up here. And for finance lease is basically outside the GST net. We can consider it, but operating lease, as Naresh sir has mentioned, at the end of the period, it is usually taken over by the a person who is entering into this transaction only nominal value, and sometimes it is for 1 rupees also. It is not so that sometimes always there is a value. It is the notional value of 1 rupees also be taken sometimes. So these 2 points I thought I should add, Umesh bhai. You can proceed further for this other issues
Yes.
to be taken.
Yes, thank you, Sushil sir. And in the first answer of Naresh sir has very properly drafted the complete conversation. And one of the important aspect, whether lease covered immovable and movable properties both, that was also been covered by sir. Now, sir, what is the difference between the point which is also raised by Kirti sir, that is of the 30 years and above lease of the industrial undertakings, and in that what are the implications, sir? Because the issue has been raised by Kirti sir, there is an industrial plot which has been taken for 30 years and more, and now there is also a sublease or assignment of lease is also happening. So in Maharashtra, MIDC is doing the transfer, all the legal formalities, taking the transfer charges. But the person who gives on assignment, he also takes some handsome consideration. And in that, what is the issue on both the side? Means on ITC side and on the outward side. So please throw a light on that, sir. Over to you, Naresh sir.
Yeah. Let me first take up granting of the lease. The granting of the lease can be done by the individual party also. The granting of the lease can be done by the industrial corporation or government authority like CIDCO, etc. So leasing, we should not have that concept that it can be done only by the government. It can be done by the private party. In Mumbai, we have many trusts. They are giving the property on the long-term lease karke. So let us first clear that. Now I'm coming to that, whether the granting of the lease per se is taxable or not. That is the first question, correct, sir? We had a general perception, or there is a lot of there are two school of thoughts. One say lease right are a substantive right in the land, and it is given to us in a perpetuity or a very long term. It is like a quasi ownership of a land. So when the lease rights are granted, it should be treated at par with the land, and there should not be tax on that. That is the one line of argument. And second line of argument, which is now, in my opinion, the Supreme Court has settled it for once for all. We had, the Builder Association of Navi Mumbai, which went somewhere 3 years back in the writ to the Bombay High Court, challenging the CIDCO levying the GST on their bill, because 1st July 2017 to 31/3/2019, there was no reverse charge. The supplier or lessor, it was a responsibility of a supplier or lessor to discharge the GST. So CIDCO, MIDC, everybody was charging the GST on the leasehold right on a simple one-liner, logic, that what is excluded from the scope of supply, which is neither goods or services, that has been given in the entry 5 of the schedule 3. They clearly say sale of a land or sale of a building. And who can sell the who can sell the building? Owner of the building can sell the land. What is sale of land? Sale of land means selling the land lock, stock and barrel. Once you sell the land, there is no residuary right or any right remains with you. Here in case of the lease, what happens? The residuary right of ownership remains with the lessor. Lessee is not a owner. That's why it is not a sale of a land. So that's why there is a clear this thing, the interpretation that what is excluded is only pure sale of land. Lease is not a pure sale of land. And there is it doesn't fall under that schedule 3. So that's why it is liable to GST, because GST law defines, they have defined the goods to be movable property, and any other thing other than movable property is a goods. That other than goods is a service. Service was very widely defined. So that's why, so this was an issue. The Bombay High Court has clearly held what Bombay High Court has said in New Builders Association, that the lease tenancy license to occupy land is a supply of service in accordance with the section 7, because it is the scope of the supply clearly says, as Kirti has said, a lease of the property, lease also is a service. Secondly, the Bombay High Court has said, show me where it is written that the long-term lease are not covered under the lease. It goes out of the scope of supply. So lease land, whether short-term or long-term, is a supply of service under entry 2B of the schedule 2 of the CGST Act. If you refer the schedule of this, it is very clear. Entry 2B of the schedule 2 clearly says lease is a service. They have not said that lease about 30 years is not a service, or etc., etc., etc. So Bombay High Court has clearly said it is taxable. Granting of the leasehold right is taxable. The SLP was filed by Builder Association Navi Mumbai, and the Supreme Court very recently has upheld the decision of the Bombay High Court. So in my view, I will take a position that leasehold right, granting of the leasehold right is taxable. That is the first thing. As far as Umesh Bhai, about the about the taxability and other thing, if you permit me, I will come. One specific question is there. On that entire thing, I will cover so that participant get proper understanding of this. With your permission, I will do that. Karke. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, sir, 1 minute. So it is definitely taxable. Now I am coming to sir your assignment of the leasehold right. And let me tell you, for the benefit of participant just now, that granting of the leasehold right.
Before Naresh sir want to discuss the assignment of lease, one thing I want to add here, Umesh Bhai, is that we must note that these leases are not a new issue, and it is continuing from service tax period. In service tax also, the same transactions were liable to tax. But today, if we discuss, if anybody has not got the notice for the service tax period, he is no more supposed to get the notice, because the limitation period is also over in service.
Absolutely, sir.
So I'm not worried about the person who were not paid the taxes in the service tax regime. Now I'm coming to the GST regime. If you have not paid the taxes, anybody who consider or feels that this is not a transactions where GST to be applied, they are liable to pay tax now. This is a clear understanding. But the important point which I wanted to say here, and Kirti Bhai was discussing about the reverse charge also. So in case of government lease, situation is very difficult in case of government lease, where the reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Umesh Bhai, I am correct, this reverse charge is applicable if the lease has been taken from the government. So the reverse charge, in case of reverse charge, since it is covered under the government lease are covered, services, government support services are covered there. So if anybody taken lease from the government has not charged the tax, not collected the tax, and the liability of the person who has taken this lease to discharge the service tax. Because in normal case, it is always the liability of the person who is providing the lease, the person who is given, the supplier, not the recipient. But if the transaction is undertaken with a government, then the pinch is on the person who is taken the lease, and they have to do it. And if they further leased out, they are liable to pay tax also. So if they have done it, what the second things is emerging here, if they have done it in regular period, they were allowed to take the credit of the same. I doubt whether now they will get the credit also. So it is basically opening a big Pandora box. I want Kirti Bhai to comment on this, then over to Umesh Bhai.
Sir, can I come in for a minute, sir?
Yes, sir, Naresh sir. Then we will.
Yes. Sushil ji has given, but I have slightly different view on certain things. For example, in the service tax days, up to 30th June 2017, the service definition always excluded transfer of title in the immovable property. And it is not, land and building. It was a immobile property, and immobile property, in my view, it's a bundle of rights. Each component of a bundle each component of a bundle itself is an immovable property that has been held by the Bombay High Court also. So lease right being a part, it's itself is an immovable property. The rights in the land itself is an immovable property. So transfer of an immovable property was excluded from the definition of service per se. And there was a controversy in Bombay also. We have that so many of the, as he rightly said, Sushilji has rightly said, people have got the notices from DGCI and everybody. But I am contesting it very strongly on the ground that transfer of title in immovable property, they are not disputing it is not an immovable property. They are disputing the word title. What title? Okay, you have not transferred the title of the immovable property. Lease में आप title नहीं transfer करते हो. So our argument is very simple, and I feel that our argument is very strong. The title means what? Title is not defined. Conveyancing किया तो ही title हुआ ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. If this is if pencil, I have to transfer the title of this pencil to Umesh ji. I will just hand it over to him. I will get the consideration. Title is passed on. So as far as leasehold rights are concerned, if I have made the document, I have paid proper stamp duty on that, and it has been transferred. Whether I have done the conveyance or not, it's a transfer of title in a immovable property. So it was not taxable in my opinion up to 30th June 2017. Definitely जिसको notice नहीं आया वो तो नसीबदार है ही, लेकिन जिसको notice भी आया हुआ है, they should not feel that they are killed करके. It's a we have very strong case over there. That is the first thing. Second thing, as far as July 2017 से March 19 is concerned, Sushilji has rightly said, in his view, even in my view, these kind of rights were taxable. But in that case, most of the cases, see, generally corporation, etc. were giving the, this property on the lease karke. And corporation is not a government. Corporation is not a state government. Corporation is not a local authority. So in my opinion, the reverse charge does not, at that time apply. But it was a duty of that corporation who was giving. They were liable to pay the tax under the forward charge. So as far as state government is concerned, if by chance, I am not aware, but if suppose in some of the state may be giving, the state may be giving this on the lease or this thing karke. So there perhaps the question of, what Sushil Bhai case says that can come up, whether it is a payment to the, government for the services, lease services, then in that case the reverse charge will be applicable. But after 1/4/2019, the reverse charge on the lease rights have totally gone. Means RCM में आ गया. Developer, the owner has nothing to worry. Whether it is lease granted by the corporation, later lease granted by the all these industrial corporations, they have not to worry. It is under the reverse charge. So I think this was the thing. Now, do you want me to deal with assignment right now, sir?
I will come back to you, sir. Before that, I will go to the Kirti Bhai. Kirti Bhai, you have started very well with the first issue of movable property taxation, and you have also referred regarding the transfer of lease in case of a movable property. Now, what will be the impact if, say, a motor car which has been taken prior to 1st July 2017, where no VAT, no credit, no ITC was availed under excise and VAT. Yeah, VAT. And now, if the transactions comes after that of leasing, so how you look into this transaction?
So there is one notification dated 13th October 2017, notification number 37/2017. And according to that notification, when a supplier purchases a vehicle in pre-GST regime and he has not availed any input tax credit of central excise or VAT or any other taxes paid on such vehicles, in that case, there is an abatement of 35% for a rate of tax for initial first 3 years. So that abatement is available till 30th June 2020. So for for first 3 years, if someone is having income from leasing business, in that case, he is supposed to pay only 65% instead of paying 100%.
Yes. Hello, I'm audible.
Yes,
Yes.
you are, sir.
Yes, perfectly. You have taken up that. Now, over to you, Naresh sir, quickly on the assignment as well as on the difference of tax between residential and commercial lease. Quickly, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assignment of the leasehold rights is not a granting of leasehold rights. Please understand that. And what is excluded from the definition of supply is a pure sale of a land. When I am transferring the leasehold rent, if I am the leasehold, I am holding the leasehold rights, I am a lazy. And then when I am assigning my right to say to Sushil Bhai, I have to go to the corporation and I have to, register that I am transferring my right in the name of the Sushil Bhai. So I am not selling the land because land never belonged to me. Land never belonged to me. So I am transferring only the rights in the land, which is liable to GST if the leasehold right itself is taxable. So assignment of the lease right comes on the lower category, inferior category to that. So in my view, it is taxable. That is one thing. And only thing is that people make the mistake whether it is under reverse charge or forward charge. In my opinion, it is in the forward charge, because if you see the reverse charge notification, it speaks of only granting of the leasehold right. And leasehold right can be granted only by the owner. So assignment of the leasehold right, in my view, is taxable, and it is taxable under the forward charge. And the person who is getting the assignment right, suppose I am a assignee and I am paying the GST to my assigner, whether I will get the ITC credit or not. Perhaps Sumesh bhai, you would be like to deal with that also, correct? So shall I go ahead with that, sir?
Because that is also one of the important aspect.
I will do that, sir.
Because on the outward side they are saying it's on service, and whenever we move to inward side they say it's a immovable property, no ITC.
Yes, sir.
This confusion we have to remove.
Yes, sir. So confusion to kya hai, sir? Some view we have taken, I have taken. It has to be tested in the law. So now number one, I have come across many situation. I am buying the existing factory on the leasehold land. Means I am taking assignment of the leasehold land on factory is there. And I am going to run that same factory. In that case, in my opinion, I should get the ITC of that. Because this ITC is not being used for the construction or anything. That is my first argument, sir. Second thing, I may be taking this assignment, and in the Bombay this is happening. The buildings standing on that are being demolished, and the developer is constructing the commercial premises for selling it. So in that kind of a case, the developer should get the ITC credit because he will be selling the commercial premises. He will get the credit. The third aspect is that I may buy that assignment right for constructing my I demolish the old factory, I construct the new factory. In that case, whether I will get it or not, I think section 17(5)(d) will come in our way, because I am using that assignment of services, some service for perhaps construction. But there is one view, and a very strong view. If you see 17(5)(c) or 17(5)(d), I think 17(5)(d) is relevant for us, which says service is used for construction. So there is one view is there. जो physically construction में जाता है, that is not allowed. But the leasehold land है मेरा, if tomorrow I am selling it again, I will be paying output tax. So in my opinion, it's a good case to argue out. The department view would be, it is for construction.
Correct.
I will distinguish between two words in relation to construction and for construction.
Correct.
The for construction means directly for the construction. And in relation to means it can be, very wide.
Yeah.
Fortunately, in the 17.5D, the word used is not in relation to. It is for construction. I
But
could
Naresh sir, if he, this leaser, the builder is going to pay the tax at the rate of 5%.
No, sir, I am talking of commercial premises, sir. Hello. I agree with you, sir. See, because first, that's why I told you, he construct the commercial premises, and again, commercial premises, if he's constructing for the letting out of the offices, he's not selling anything. He's letting out of this thing. Then we have to wait for our safari retreat. Safari retreat comes in our favor. I will get the ITC. If safari retreat is rejected by the Supreme Court, I may not get.
आप गणपति के पास हो, आप प्रसाद लगाओ सर.
सर हम तो रोज जाते हैं सर. मेरा रास्ता ही सिद्धिविनायक से सर. हेलो, मैं रोज दर्शन करके जाता हूं सर.
लेकिन country, the people in the country is not very hopeful with the safari retreat.
No, sir, I am also not. I am by reason.
So,
But
Kirti bhai, you want to add something here?
Sir, only one thing, sir. Only 1 minute, sir. Only 1 minute give me.
Yeah,
About the residential, yes, you will not get the ITC. Yeah, I'm concluding on that.
Yeah. Over to you, Kirti bhai, on this very important aspect, because you started this aspect of discussion of 30 years and below 30 years. Now, what is your intake on this ITC matter?
I am with Naresh said, sir.
Yeah. And one more aspect, Kirti bhai, if the along with movable properties are also given, like for furniture, fixture, plant, machinery, and it's a composite transaction. What Naresh sir has started. So what is your view on that movable properties which are also transferred in a composite supply? Or you can throw more light on a composite supply of movable and
Sir,
immovable.
if there is any composite supply, so first we have to check what is the predominant supply. Suppose एक बैंक है और बैंक के लिए मैंने पूरा फर्नीचर बना के कंप्लीट करके और दिया है. So
correct. Good example. Good example.
In that case, हमको सबसे पहले ये समझना होगा कि बॉस सामने वाला मुझसे क्या एक्सपेक्टेशन रखता था and what is the my main or predominant supply. So in that case, if suppose my predominant supply is movable property, matlab they just want to use the facility of particular that premise in relation to business, and the cost of furniture and any other amenities, like there is a watchman which is provided by me, there is a lift, elevators, or any other things are there which is included in that supply. So it's a part of composite supply, and the predominant supply is renting of they just want to enjoy the facilities of other things. So it is fall under the definition of the renting of other services also. So he's supposed to get the input tax credit. It is my personal opinion, sir.
एक composite का आपका question है, तो I will just jump into it. So generally composite कैसे होता है? I have got very practical, examples over here. I am dealing with it. Generally land and building. मेरी 40 साल जुनी फैक्ट्री है और मेरा अभी 59 years की लीज बाकी है. So I am selling entire things, sir. Assignment of the lease also and the factory building also. This is very, very common. So the question comes here, कि whether suppose मेरे को 50 crore मिला इसका, so can I bifurcate that consideration?
Yeah.
Between the land and building. I generally feel that if your agreement specifies the consideration and a reasonable consideration, I am telling कि आपका बिल्डिंग का अप्रोप्रिएट भाव रखते हो, वैल्यूएशन करवा के कि भाई आज 50 करोड़ में से मेरा 8 करोड़ बिल्डिंग का है, 10 करोड़ बिल्डिंग का है, एंड द सुपरस्ट्रक्चर बिलोंग्स टू मी, सुपरस्ट्रक्चर बिलोंग टू द लीजी. So I think we can perhaps escape GST to that extent.
Got it.
But sir, only one thing, I have seen very agreement where this is not bifurcated, but the stamp duty valuation will help us. Stamp duty वाले दोनों वैल्यू करते हैं सर अलग अलग से. So perhaps we can get stamp duty excluded, stamp duty valuation of building can be excluded, and assignment के ऊपर it's a good saving.
This is very important discussion, participants, and you are getting all the practical tips. Our speakers, our panelists, our chairman is very candid in discussing, and they are giving the practical solutions. Now, Kirti bhai, when we move to the movable properties lease, there were some transactions earlier also of the lease back transaction, जैसे sale and lease back. So what is your take on such transactions?
सर इन जनरली लीज बैक ट्रांजेक्शन्स में होता क्या है, सबसे पहले हम बात करें। सो लीजी जनरली जो है वो कोई एसेट्स एक्वायर करता है XYZ किसी सप्लायर से। सो जब लीजी उस एसेट्स को एक्वायर करता है तो ही इज सपोज टू गेट द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट, क्योंकि वो उस एसेट्स को सेल करता है लेसर को। सो जो एसेट्स उसने परचेस करी ही इज सपोज टू गेट द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट, क्योंकि वो उसके फर्दर सप्लाई के लिए है। जब उस एसेट्स को लेसर परचेस करता है तो आईटीसी उसे भी मिलेगा, बिकॉज वो भी आगे फर्दर सप्लाई के लिए लीज बैक के लिए किसी को दे रहा है, तो ही इज ऑल्सो सपोज टू गेट द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट एट दैट टाइम। अभी प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई क्या मानेंगे, दैट इज द इशू, बिकॉज हम जब प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई में जाते हैं तो कंसिडरिंग दी सेक्शन 10(1)(c) ऑफ IGST, तो जहां पर मूवमेंट ऑफ गुड्स इज नॉट इन्वॉल्व, इन दैट केस प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई विल बी ट्रीटेड एज अ प्लेस ऑफ सच असेट्स। तो जहां पर उस समय वो मशीन है या वो असेट्स रखी हुई है, एट दैट टाइम हम उसे यही मानेंगे कि ये असेट्स यहीं पर हैंडओवर की है। तो सपोज कोई पर्सन हु इज इन मध्य प्रदेश और उस असेट्स को सेल करता, मतलब लीज देता है राजस्थान में, और उस समय वो असेट्स राजस्थान में ही है, तो ही हैज टू चार्ज IGST इन दैट केस, बिकॉज असेट्स इज सिचुएटेड ओवर देयर। सो ये तो मेरा असेट्स के केस में हो गया, प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई के केस में। अभी बात आती है सप्लाई ऑफ सर्विस के केस में, कि जब यहां से मैं रेंटिंग का सर्विसेज चार्ज करूंगा और उस समय वो असेट्स कहां पर पड़ा हुआ है, लेट से वो असेट्स अभी पड़ा हुआ है मध्य प्रदेश में और राजस्थान से वो सर्विसेज मुझे यहाँ मिली है और मैं लीज रेंट पे करता हूँ राजस्थान में, तो जहां पर पर्सन रजिस्टर्ड है जो सर्विसेज ले रहा है, वो जहां पर रजिस्टर्ड होगा, प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई वहां पर मानते हुए उस हिसाब से मुझे टैक्सेशन लगाना पड़ेगा लीज बैक असेट्स के केस में। फाइनली जब लीज बैक असेट्स को एट से कोई डिस्पोज ऑफ करता है और एट द टाइम, तो उस समय फिर मुझे देखना पड़ेगा कि कंसिडरिंग दैट फैक्ट 5 इयर्स कंप्लीट हुआ है या नहीं हुआ है। 5 इयर्स अगर कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है तो फिर प्रोपोर्शनेटली जो रिवर्सल का रूल मेरे ऊपर ITC का आता है फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ वैल्यूएशन, कि 5% पर क्वार्टर जो है प्रोपोर्शनेटली मैंने उसको रिवर्स करते हुए देखा है या नहीं देखा है, उसको देखते हुए फिर मुझे उस पर GST जो है एप्लीकेबल करना पड़ेगा।
Correct.
अभी इसमें एक इशू आएगा
Yeah, you can also cover the place of supply for movable immovable. Yeah.
सो वहां पर एक इशू आएगा सर, प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई में अगर हम जनरली जाते हैं प्रोविजंस में, तो जहां पर प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई इन रिलेशन टू इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी अगर हम जनरली बात करें तो जनरल रूल्स एप्लीकेबल होते हैं। इफ पर्सन इज रजिस्टर्ड तो फिर प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई में वहां मानता हूं जहां पर्सन रजिस्टर्ड है। इफ पर्सन इज हैविंग मोर देन 1 रजिस्ट्रेशन, तो जो रजिस्ट्रेशन जो एड्रेस ज्यादा नजदीक है, मैं वहां पर ये मान लेता हूं जहां पर वो सप्लाई दी गई है, मैं वहां पर ये मान लेता हूं कि वो प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई वहां पर है और वहां पर उसको क्रेडिट मिल जाता है इफ पर्सन इज हैविंग मोर देन 1 रजिस्ट्रेशन। बट इफ द पर्सन इज अनरजिस्टर्ड, इन दैट केस वहां पर तकलीफ आएगी जहां असेट्स मूवेबल असेट्स हो और पर्सन इज अनरजिस्टर्ड, तो वहां पर देयर इज अ चैलेंज कि मैं उसको कहां प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई मानूंगा फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ क्लेमिंग दी IGST, कि भाई अगर असेट्स आज यहाँ पर मान लीजिए सपोज MP से मैंने दिया है एंड असेट्स इन राजस्थान, तो मैंने राजस्थान लगा दिया, लेकिन अगर वो असेट्स उठ के राजस्थान से छत्तीसगढ़ जाती है एंड पर्सन इज अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन, तो मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी केवल उतनी जितना उसका रिकॉर्ड मेरे एड्रेस के अंदर रजिस्टर्ड है, मैं केवल उसी को वहां पर मानते हुए मेरा टैक्स लाइबिलिटी जो डिस्चार्ज करूंगा, मुझे इस बात से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा कि वो असेट्स आज कहां पर मूव हो रही है या कहां पर प्रोवाइड कर रही है।
Correct. Right. Now, back to Naresh sir. Naresh sir, the issue which we have discussed of the leasing of immovable property and the ITC of that immovable property. For the supplier, it's a service, and for the recipient, for ITC purpose, it has to be taken care of. And what you have said in earlier discussion also, that if it is a further supply, then ITC is available. But how you look into the angle, I will ask this question to all the 3 panelists. By the case Safari Retreat, which is pending before the Supreme Court, So quick take from Naresh sir, then we will move to Sushil sir, and then we will move to Kirti sir on this
Sir,
aspect.
practical, if I go by Safari related practical, I share the same view with, Sushil ji, holds the view. One has to go by the literal interpretation, and ITC is a statutory right. It's not your birthright or constitutional right. The government can put the restriction on availment of it. And 17.5D, if you read it, it is not unambiguous. It is absolutely very, very clearly drafted law. And whether law is fair or unfair, court has nothing to do with it, in my opinion. So, now the trend of Honorable Supreme Court also, perhaps, it is very difficult. यदि भगवान की दुआ नहीं होगी तो सफारी रिट्रीट शायद अपने फेवर में आता है कि नहीं, that we have to see. But यदि practical
बड़ी जल्दी आप बदल गए सर.
नहीं, मैं बदला नहीं हूँ. I have not changed, sir. I have not changed, sir. I am saying that it is safari retreat is जब तक safari retreat नहीं आता है, जब तक सांस है तब तक आस है, sir. This is my view. Can you say the client don't take the credit? No, I can't say the client don't take the credit. Can I say the client, can you take the credit? मैं बैठा हूँ, that also I cannot say. So that's why the practical advice for all my participant friends, I'm telling you, tell your client to take the credit, inform your jurisdiction officer, don't utilize it. What will happen? Because otherwise you will, if the time for credit goes, you are lose the ITC also, and tomorrow if the Honorable Supreme Court, perhaps, because we can't predict, the outcome of any litigation. Sometimes the, good team in the IPL, gets over in 70 runs. That means for 200 runs, So we can't, sir. So that's why as a professional, our advice, should be, boss, aap claim karo, but inform your jurisdiction office. Don't utilize it.
Yeah.
यदि आ गया जजमेंट अपनी फेवर में, तो इट्स ए लॉटरी बोनस. थोड़ा फी का उसका परसेंटेज आपके प्रोफेशनल चार्टर्ड अकाउंट को भी दे दो. नहीं आया तो देयर इज नो डैमेज. पेनल्टी कैन नॉट बी लेविड and interest under section 50 cannot be levied. This is my view.
Got it. Over to you, Sushil sir.
अभी नरेश भाई have changed his stand, so I have nothing to, because he is not ready to give the bouncer. Unless bouncers are coming, how I can hit six? Safari retreat, to my mind, is not going to stand, because it's a judgment which is totally unexpected, and no similar type of judgment, nearby judgment given by any court in the country or any authority in the country, which is talking or discussing in the same line. So only judgment which is given by the Honorable Odisha Court, with due respect to that, and since it is pending with Supreme Court, we should not comment on that. But unless government has a keen interest, with due responsibility I am talking, unless government has a keen interest to provide you the credit on this, even you win in Supreme Court, how it will going to help?
Correct.
Unless government, tomorrow it might so happen that you win in the Supreme Court and the government decide to bring some retrospective changes in the provision of law, because court is not going to say you that, okay, this credit is allowed, so you will get the credit. Court is going to say that as per the so and so provision in this line, credit should be allowed.
Correct.
Then the government tomorrow will ask the bureaucrats what line we should insert or delete from here, so credit should be given. This has happened in the past. I don't want to discuss in detail, but section 7(1)AA is example of that. So
Correct.
we should be careful before doing this. And Naresh ji has correctly mentioned, we should taking credit and keeping it in abeyance.
Yeah. Over to you, Kirti bhai, on this important aspect.
Although we cannot read law in such a restrictive manner, the input tax credit is, as correctly mentioned by Naresh bhai, it's not my inherent right. So we cannot say that we are supposed to take the credit or we are eligible for the credit until and unless we are not in the position to have a favorable judgment But yes, that option which is provided by Naresh Bhai is, I think so, workable option. We can take the credit, but we should not utilize it till the final disposal of the order. So I am with the both the learned speakers, with
Yeah.
Sushil sir and Naresh Bhai.
Yes. Now I will take a very important discussion.
Umesh bhai, the audience will like to hear your views also. You are doing the moderation, but your views are also important. You can add up something here if
Sir.
you wish to so.
Yeah, sir. We have already advised to take and keep it unclaimed till the judgment comes. Now again I move to reverse way. Kirti bhai, Sushil bhai, and Naresh sir. And Naresh sir, your view will be final on this. Let's put that question first. Kirti bhai, there is a confusion of a completion certificate. A property is an immovable property after completion certificate, and before completion certificate it is in a work in progress. It is a property which is a bunch of rights and also movable. So from the leasing perspective, do you see any challenge? Because completion certificate is applicable for sale and completion certificate is not applicable for leasing. But our many questions comes from our participants that I have got completion certificate. So what is your view on or clarification?
To provide the lease, suppose a building, I have not received any completion certificate,
Correct.
but I have provided that assets on lease. So I don't think so. There is any restriction. I can provide that assets on rent if I have get the possession, or in many cases it happens like, suppose someone is want to start some showroom and building yet not completed, and he want to build particular that showroom in his own style. So he started the lease agreement and taken that particular assets on lease, and I don't think so that there may be some issue.
Yeah, so it will be lease of immovable property, not of movable
Yes,
property.
yes.
Though there is no completion certificate. Correct. Because many times our confusion comes for the parties from participant side. Sushil sir, your clarification, okay? Naresh sir.
Fully agree with the Kirti bhai.
Yeah, in my view, it is immovable property only. Once it is, embedded in the earth. See, immovable property, we would take the meaning from the, Transfer of Property Act and other, that kind of a law. It's a immovable property only. And sir ji, मैं तो बोलता हूँ, आप उसको immovable property का leasing बोलो या movable का बोलो, टैक्स का रेट तो सेम है सर. All ITC rules and everything is same करके, तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? राम को राम बोले, श्याम बोलो करके, कोई फर्क पड़ता नहीं है मेरे हिसाब से. But
sir, if you are paying wrong taxes, credit might be denied to you.
No, sir, I am not paying
Be
wrong
careful.
taxes, sir. I am not
So
paying
you
the
have
wrong
to pay
taxes.
the correct tax, then only credit will be available to you.
Sir, assessee code, the HSN code are same for more or less all the things, sir. I am not paying the wrong tax, sir. And wrong tax, if I have paid, सामने वाले को credit मिलती है, sir. Because if I have made a mistake, there are n number of jurisprudence. It's a service provider or supplier. If he has paid the tax at the wrong head, but then also he gets the credit.
Yeah. Correct.
The same
Now,
principle, whether it will be borrowed in the GST law, I have my own doubts. In the earlier law, wrong tax paid is allowed as a credit, but in GST, I have my doubt, sir. Rather, I should say I have my own reservations, whether they will continue with the same legacy.
yes.
So we should be careful.
Yeah.
Next.
Now we are moving toward the concluding two questions, and then we will move to the questions from the participants, which are visible in the background. I will take these questions one by one, but before that, Naresh sir, a very important question. I may be repeating that question, but we have to conclude. There is a leasehold land. Someone is the owner of that, and another one is a developer. Now the developer is doing the activity of development, and he is entering into the contract with the customer as regard the uh,
Sale of property is concerned. Sale of
transfer of property by way of assignment of lease in such case, because it's a leasehold land. Now, what will happen to the ITC which the developer is using for the construction activity?
Sir,
Yeah,
so I will take this question very comprehensively. First, I am talking about construction of a residential apartment, because the law is different for residential apartment, law is different for the commercial apartments. Correct, sir?
yeah,
So first why I am taking up a construction of a residential apartment. As far as taxability of the leasehold right is concerned, we have already taken the position. It is taxable, sir. Correct, sir? Granting of the leasehold right is taxable. समझो MIDC ने मुझे grant किया, plot और सिडको ने किया, उसके ऊपर मैं बिल्डिंग बना रहा हूं, तो granting of the leasehold right is taxable under reverse charge, but the leasehold rights attributable to under construction sale of flat, it is exempted. It means the leasehold rights which are attributable to the unsold flat, only to that extent I have to pay the tax as a developer. I have to pay the tax only on the completion of the project, because on the completion of the project, I will know what is unsold and what is sold. That is the second thing. So as far as residential apartments are concerned, whatever leasehold right I have paid, उसके ऊपर मैंने जो भी GST मुझे भरना है, only to the extent of unsold residential premises के ऊपर मुझे भरना है, sir. Correct, sir? Am I clear up to this point, sir?
yeah. And
Yeah.
Extended point is when we enter a contract with the customer.
हाँ, तो कस्टमर के साथ में कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कर रहा हूं, I am selling the
Whether it will be sale or it will be assignment of lease, sir.
Sir, in my opinion, it is a sale of a flat. Along with that sale of flat, I am assigning the rights in the land that is incidental to my sale of a flat. My prime thing is this. So I am equating the construction on the leasehold right is like a construction on the development right itself, and I should be allowed the whatever the अपना 33% का जो tax पे rebate है, that I should be allowed. Is the question is free from doubt? No, question is not free from doubt, but going by the legislative intent, another thing, I should be getting that करके. And the due date of the payment of the tax on the development right, leasehold right के ऊपर, as I have told you, on the completion of the project, person liable to pay the tax is a developer himself, not the person who has supplied you the leasehold right. Credit tax paid on the RCM by the developer. मैं जो unsold के ऊपर के भर रहा हूं, whether I get ITC? No, I will not get the ITC. I will not get the ITC because I am constructing the residential house, and the tax on transfer of the lease pertaining to the unsold flat that I have already discussed. Now I am coming to the commercial premises.
Commercial, yeah.
If I am coming to the commercial premises, the taxability of the leasehold right के ऊपर, if I have to pay the tax, yes, I have to pay the tax whether the flats, the commercial units are under construction or it is sold post construction also. Any leasehold right attributable to construction of a commercial premises, that leasehold right is taxable. That is the first thing. Due date of a payment, the point of taxation or time of supply is the point of time when the lease rights are transferred irrevocably and irreversibly. यदि आज मैंने leasehold right का payment सिडको को किया है, तो in my view the liability to pay the tax arises because lease is, in my opinion, granting of the lease is a one-time affair. So it is to be taxed. It is not a continuous supply of services. एक बार आपने execute document कर दिया and irrevocable reversible right दे दिया, so in my opinion the point of taxation is on the date on which this particular agreement is executed. So this is my view on that. Person liable to pay the tax. Who is liable to pay the tax on leasehold right? In my opinion, a developer who is liable to pay the tax on the leasehold right. Credit of the tax I will definitely get the credit of the tax. I will definitely get the credit of tax because I am सामने construct कर रहा हूँ मैं commercial premises intended for sale. So I should get it करके. Tax rate. What will be the tax rate? The tax rate will be 18% of the leasehold right and valuation of lease. Sarji, you can do on the outright leasehold आप लोगे. You do area sharing. You do the revenue sharing. So as far as cash जो है cash में आप जो whatever you are paying consideration upfront that will be taxed. Revenue share जो देते हैं उसके ऊपर 18% लगेगा. As far as area sharing is concerned, leasehold के सामने आप area share दे रहे हो उसको lease right के सामने, so that area will be the market value of that units near to the date of granting of the leasehold right with the value of the leasehold this leasehold right, and accordingly the tax has to be paid. So I think I have covered commercial as well as residential also.
Yeah. Over to you, Kirti bhai, on this discussion. Your additional views.
No, sir. I am concord the view of Naresh, sir.
Yeah.
Sushil sir.
Now let me play the role of moderator. I want to hear you now. You tell
Okay,
me
sir.
what exactly how you go with the Naresh sir, or you have some contradiction.
No.
Something to add.
Yeah.
Something to be added here.
This is a very big issue and which is coming up. Many notices are being issued in the MIDC area where the constructions are happening, residential as well as commercial. Because Naresh sir, what is happening? There is no sale of flat agreement. There is MIDC say that you are giving assignment of lease. We have allowed you to construct the units, and you construct the unit and you sub-assign the units. One by one. So they are saying that it's a assignment of lease and you have to pay 18%. You cannot go by the sale of flat. So there is a conflict going on on the document which is entered with the customer. Sale deed is not entered, but the assignment of that flat and assignment of that shop is entered. The MIDC has their own clause, own format. And in that, they specifically say that it's a lease and they use lesser lessee. So the point of 1% and 5% on residential is also been question marked by them. They say that it's a lease and you have to pay 18%. The notices are being issued. So this issue is coming up. This was the point, sir. So to conclude our discussion, Naresh sir, the document which is entered with the customer is of prime importance. So what's your view on that, sir?
So tell me one thing, is it a RERA registered project?
Yeah, it's a.
Are you a promoter?
Yes.
Developer promoter, sir?
Yes.
Entire 3 by 2017 to 3 by 2019 notification.
Yeah.
To the 9 by 2000 notification. If you read, it speaks of a taxation of a RERA projects, promoters ka, sir. And sir, I will go by the jurisprudence principle. The substance prevail over the form, sir. Substance prevail over the form. And secondly, if the department is going by the assignment, then I think our thing becomes more easy, sir, in my opinion. जो मैं लीज होल्ड पे असाइनमेंट का जो प्रीमियम देता हूँ, I should get the ITC credit in that case.
Yeah, it is by when output is that, then input should be allowed.
Only thing is मेरे को construction का credit नहीं मिलेगा. Construction का credit नहीं मिलेगा because I am selling on outside. I am assigning the rights. But in my opinion, sir, I am assigning the rights of only the land, sir. Superstructure is still built by me. At the most, department can say that I am not allowing that 2.5% का आपको जो कम rate आता है, I will not allow you. Affordable में 1.5 लगाऊंगा आपको. Affordable में 1.5 लगाऊंगा और उसमें 5% लगाऊंगा, 7.5% लगाऊंगा. But they can't really, go because I am not assigning. I am assigning only the right in the land. On the contrary, it will be better for me that I say, okay, I am assigning the leasehold right to them. I am providing the worst construction services as far as superstructure is concerned. मेरे को ITC का credit भी दो assignment of lease road right. If they are taking that argument, so I have the counter argument to this, sir.
Great.
Sir,
So,
are you agreeing, sir?
yeah. It's okay because these things are coming and many people will come to notice this. So let's conclude this point within 5 minutes. Your take, Kirti sir, on this.
As rightly said by Naresh sir, substance over form, sir. So it's transfer of rights in the lands instead of it's a pure lease transaction. So it's a transfer of immovable property.
Sushil sir.
No,
1/3.
Okay.
no submission.
Yeah. So now let's conclude our discussion. Before that concluding, Kirti sir, any ITC related issues, if we have a lease, renting, hiring transaction, which you want to specify at the end, other than movable?
Yes.
Yeah, other than immovable.
As far as the new business is concerned, so I just want to add few things. Suppose if we are planning for ITC purpose and I am having a business which is a running business and I am going to acquire any property. So for taking that decision, I can keep into mind whether I should go for the lease agreement or for the buy of to a purchase of the property. Why? Because if suppose there is a new business, so it might possible my major working capital is blocked in the purchase of assets and I am not supposed to get the full credit of ITC till the production not started. So I can take one decision that particular assets, if I take that assets on lease basis, so there may be some relaxation as far as the working capital is concerned. That is one thing. Second, so for new startup, they can have one option with them. Second, if suppose I'm going to dispose of any assets in 3-4 years down the line, so I can think about the lease also instead of going to purchase it. And in case of export, if I am engaged in export, so in case of export, rather than buying a property, if I take it on lease, so I will get the maximum refund. So these all are the small points as far as input tax credit is concerned.
Yeah. So this was our discussion. Now I am moving toward the questions.
And one more point, sir.
Yeah. Please.
For Rule 43, reversal of Rule 43, if I am suppose I am engaged in partly exempted supply or partly taxable supply, in that case I have to keep the record asset wise basis. So that would be a Herculean task for me. So if suppose there is a business which is partly exempted, partly taxable, and someone is taking some assets on lease basis, so Rule 43 is not going to be applicable for the reversal of ITC. Rule 43.
Correct. Now
Umesh ji, sorry, एक मैंने just अभी clarification देखा मैंने. We are talking about whether 1/3 deduction can be availed in case of the leasehold rights or not. If I go to the notification number 3, और उसमें explanation is very clear. For the purpose of this paragraph, total amount means the sum total of amount charged for transfer of land, undivided share of land, as the case may be, including by of a lease or sublease. So why there should not give me the concession rate of 5% and 2.5%? The law is, I think, reasonably clear, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your quick clarification. So let's move toward the questions which are being raised by the participants.
सर उससे पहले सर आपने जो 11-12 नंबर का क्वेश्चन दिया हुआ है कमर्शियल रेंटिंग एंड रेसिडेंशियल रेंटिंग,
Yeah.
If we cover that, तो perhaps बहुत सारे participants के doubt clear हो जाएंगे sir. I think that is what my
So let's conclude that
Yeah.
commercial renting and residential renting. Kirti sir, you can start the discussion and we will end at Naresh sir. The impact on residential rent and commercial rent.
Suppose there is one residential property and that residential property I have acquired for the purpose of my business. So in that case, if it is a residential property, so it is going to be covered under RCM. But if there is a one commercial property which is I am renting out to any other business person, so forward charge is applicable in that case. There may be two cases. If person who is providing that commercial property is unregistered, it doesn't make any difference for me. It is covered under forward charge, so I am not supposed to pay any tax under reverse charge basis. If the property is residential property and the supplier or provider is registered and the recipient is also registered, even though it doesn't make any difference, reverse charge is applicable in that case, and I am supposed to pay reverse charge is applicable and I am supposed to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. So that is all about the residential or commercial property taxation of. Yes sir, Naresh sir, if you want to. Yes sir.
सर मैंने तो एक टेबल बना के रखा है मेरा टेबल के ऊपर, because this residential renting is becoming, you know, a lot of issues. So as far as commercial is concerned, I totally agree with, you know, Kirti Bhai, that, you know, it has to be on the forward charge and other thing I am agreeing करके. Now comes about the residential renting. Residential renting का जो है 18 July 2022 से that entire scenario has changed, correct sir? पहले residential dwelling place used for the residence was totally exempted, sir. There was no question of forward charge, there was no question of reverse charge, etc., etc., etc. And law was very well settled. The ultimate use should be for the residence. भले company buy करती हो director के residence के लिए, but it is residence, so it should be exempted. Now after the what is changed, sir, I will, you know, I am talking only of a residential premises. It depends on, you know, who is owner, who is tenant, and what is the use of property. That will decide who will pay under forward or revert. So I will go by that sequence. Maybe 2 minutes I will take, sir, Umesh ji.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-3 minutes. क्योंकि अपना 6 बजे का टाइम है ना सर, अभी 5:30 बजे है, तो थोड़ा लेता हूं मैं सर. Sir, my owner is unregistered. Owner is unregistered. Tenant is also unregistered. And the property is used for residence. Exempt from tax, sir. Correct, sir? No issue.
Yeah.
Owner is unregistered. Owner is unregistered. Property भाड़े पे लेने वाला registered है और वो residence के लिए use करता है सर. तो ये taxable and covered under RCM. Correct, sir?
Yeah.
Taxable at the rate of 18% and covered under RCM. Am I right, sir?
So we can give here exemption also, na? The
Yeah,
person who is not using for the business purpose.
Sir, I'm coming to that, sir.
Ah.
I'm coming to that. I'm just, you know, first, you know, third is registered. That I'm coming by way of footnote, sir. Registered person. Owner is a registered, sir. Tenant is unregistered. Is used for residence. Then also it is exempted, sir. Then also it is exempted. Owner is registered. Tenant is also registered. And a use residence dwelling unit as a residence only, it is taxable and covered under RCM. Now I am coming to residential unit, but used as a commercial, sir. This is also a big issue. Residential, but used as a, on municipal record, it is a residential. But actually it is used for a commercial. Unregistered person, owner is unregistered, tenant is unregistered, commercial, taxable in the hands of the supplier, sir. Taxable in the hands of supplier. Because reverse charge entry is very clear. Reverse charge entry reads, service by of a renting of residential dwelling to a registered person. So if it is commercial use के लिए है, sir, if it is using for the commercial, my view it is taxable, sir. It is my view taxable because अभी exemption भी हो तो residence उसके लिए ही है, sir. So it is taxable and the, you know, supplier has to pay. You know, in my opinion, sir, anything, you know, commercial user हुआ, whether the supplier is registered, tenant is registered, unregistered, in all this situation, the tax is on, you know, the supplier only, sir. Now only one exception. Owner is registered person, tenant is also registered, and the use is for the commercial. then definitely taxable, but it is to go under the forward charge, sir. So this is what the summary of this. And only sir, जो सुशील जी बोले थे, it's a very practical problem. For example, मेरे केस में खुद के केस में हुआ था. I am registered under GST and I have taken the property on the rent because my building has gone under the demolition. So I have taken the property on rent. So my first question came up. I am a registered person. 22 जुलाई से मेरे को भरना है because it is this thing. So thankfully, the government had done the treat. Press Information of Bureau में tweet किया था. No GST. Even if the proprietor or the partner of the firm rents a residential for personal use. And on top of it, we have the Honorable Delhi High Court. In case of a Seema Gupta case versus Union of India, they said clearly GST is not applicable on renting of the residential accommodation for personal use of a proprietor or partner of a registered proprietorship partnership firm. So
Correct.
this is the situation as far as renting is concerned. I think
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whether
Good, sir.
good number of Umesh bhai questions are there?
Yeah. So I will move to the question, sir. Thanks to the panelists for the detailed discussion. Now we are moving toward the questions from the participants. So the first question is coming from Jitendra Prajapat. A company acquired 100% share of B company. Both are private limited, and later on B company merged with A company. So in that case, GST is applicable on industrial land. GST enforcement department sent us summons to B company. Yes, Naresh sir.
In my opinion, where is the question of taxability over here? We have that exemption entry transfer of an undertaking.
Yeah.
Because see, they are talking of merger or of merger, no sir?
Yeah, merger.
Merger is
It's a
nothing
merger.
but the entire undertaking with business. Entire business undertaking has been taken over. So there is an exemption notification. What is the comprising of that undertaking is irrelevant, sir.
Correct.
Is irrelevant. My view is very clear. Jitendra bhai, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Tell them
Now-
to issue the so-called notice, you reply to it, sir.
Yeah. Now, Joy Franklin Dias question is there. What will be the scenario if rent is unrealized for which invoice was raised and GST is paid by property owner? Kirti bhai.
GST is paid, sir. You can't do anything. As far as the ITC is concerned, person is supposed to get the input tax credit, and if he has not paid that amount within a period of 180 days, so he is supposed to reverse the input tax credit. But you cannot praise him. You should reverse it because you have not paid the rent. So there is no legal remedy is available to the supplier of the service.
Yeah, why these issues are coming regularly? I will give you a background. When there is a dispute of rent hike or say removal of a tenant, it doesn't goes away, and there
So
is
in
a
that
litigation.
case,
And in
if
this
suppose
case,
there is any
in this
discrepancy in
yeah,
providing
in this
lease
case,
in-
to keep the claim alive, rent invoices are regularly being issued.
Sir, there are two major issues. First, whether rent is a continuous supply of service or not. Renting is a continuous supply of service or not. And second, are you supposed to issue debit note or credit note? Because if suppose there is any discrepancy in providing your services, or you have not provided any services, in that case, you can issue, or there is dispute regarding the rate of tax. But if there is no dispute, in that case, you will be in trouble. You cannot say that because you want to file a suit against particular that person. And if you raise the credit note to that person, so automatically your case will be not in good shape before the court of law. So in my personal opinion, first, renting is, if you have raised the invoice, then you are supposed to pay the tax. You don't have any option. Naresh sir, if you have any another.
Correct. Got it, sir. Yes.
Sir, अपने गवर्नमेंट का हिसाब बहुत क्लियर है सर.
हमको जीएसटी दो.
बेड डेट्स आपका है, उसमें हमारा कोई भागीदारी नहीं है सर.
Yeah, got it.
Sir. That is
Yes,
the one sentence I can tell you, and Kirti is right.
Yes.
The credit note can be issued only for the deficiency of the services and non-provision of the services.
Correct.
Where you are not admitting
Yeah,
deficiency in the providing
Yeah.
services, or you have not provided services, because possession uske saath mein hi tha, sir.
Yes.
So I think you have to forget the money, GST whatever you paid. I think you have to forget it karke.
Yeah. So let's move to the next Shravan question is there. Please clarify what will be the place of supply, place of business in GST registration. I think it's a simple question. We can move ahead. Then another is Anupama Ladda from Amravati. What will be the probable decision of Safari retreat case when it is expected to put for hearing? I think we have deliberated it. All panelists have discussed this. Now next is the
Sir,
Vaibhav
only
Chawla.
thing is it about the hearing I want to tell you.
Yeah.
नवंबर से ये बोर्ड पे आ रहा है सर. नवंबर 2022 से हमने हमारी बीसीए, हमने चैम्बर की आरआरसी नक्की की थी. इसके ऊपर सुनो, हमने इसके ऊपर सर जो एस गणेशन जो है, जिसने ये केस सफारी का रिट्रीट का लड़ा हुआ था, उसको हमने स्पीकर करके बुलाया था कि तब तक हमको लगा था जजमेंट आ जाएगा. वी हैड इन द मंथ ऑफ जनवरी वी हैड आरआरसी, तब तक नहीं आया था. उसके बाद में फरवरी, मार्च, अभी तक डेट पड़ रही है करके. तो मैडम, to answer this we have to be astrologer rather than a chartered accountant or legal expert.
Yes. So let's move to the next Vaibhav Chawla. Please enlighten on the tax payable on RCM basis on rent paid by registered to unregistered and place is used for business purposes. Also, there is a haze on the time period of 22-23 covered under this clause. I think Naresh bhai, you have taken up in the table form completely unregistered, registered, residential and business. This question we think it's a resolve. Next, Sri Kumar Kabraji, whether GST is applicable on assignment of leasehold rights in a land owned by State Industrial Development Corporation to the third party. Yes, we have already discussed it is applicable. Then Ajay Jain from Kota, owner A owns a godowns which he has rented to B. B is providing agriculture warehousing services which is exempt. Is the rent received by A is also exempted? Kirti bhai.
I don't think so, sir. Subletting is exempt, because if we go through the clear-cut notification, if you have provided services for the purpose of renting the warehousing services for the agriculture produce, then only it is going to be covered under exemption notification. But it is subletting. You have provided warehouse to B, and B is going to provide that services. So for B, it is exempted, but from A to B, it is not going to be exempted.
So very important, renting of a warehouse and providing warehouse services are different. Yes. Now next, kindly, there is a CA Saket Bagadia. Kindly clarify position of applicability of GST on sale of leasehold property like situated in MIDC. We have clarified and discussed in length. It is coming under the purview of GST. Ajay Gupta from Delhi. What is the position of availing ITC on CAM charges charged by maintenance companies in commercial complexes in case of premises used by owner as well as tenant? Yeah, Kirti bhai.
You are supposed to get the input tax credit. I don't think so.
Yeah. Next is the video is playing intermediately. Okay. Then next question. What is GST impact on subsequent transfer of MIDC property which was taken on 99-year lease? Is it subsequently transferred to other party after 5 years of lease? I think we have covered it. It is taxable. Then Pravesh Kumar, Chennai. What will be the rate of GST on renting of electric scooter? Whether it will be the same as the rate on the sale of electric scooter, that is 5%?
18%. In my personal opinion, 18%, and you will fall under 9973 SSC code. So you are supposed to pay tax at the rate of 18%, because 5% is for sale of electric vehicles. It's not for the purpose of renting of any machinery or vehicle. So in my personal opinion, you are supposed to pay tax at the rate of 18%.
I have a Kitty, I have a slightly different view in this karke, because as you have seen that I will कौन सी entry अपनी अनवी इधर, yeah I will go by the 9973. We say the transfer of right to use any goods for any purpose, whether or not for a specified period. Here, I am giving the effective control and possession of the scooter to the my person who is taking me from the hire, sir. So I'm satisfying transfer of right to use any goods. Scooter is a good, sir, for any purpose. Then the rate applicable is the same rate of GST, and a compensation says as applicable to the supply of similar goods. And to the my best of my knowledge, this EV vehicles, scooter I think is a rate of 5%. So I would take a position, I will pay the tax at rate of 5%. Because the reason is this, that by the schedule 2, they have done away with that, problem of the wet method, whether it is goods or whether it is services. Now, every leasing, hiring, everything is a service, correct, sir? So that problem is gone. And now when I'm referring, then I'm coming to the rate schedule. The rate schedule is very clear. Transfer of right to use. And definitely I've given the transfer of right to use that bike to that gentleman. So in my opinion, I will go for 5%, sir. If I am subject to correction, whether 5% है कि मेरे हिसाब से 5% है.
Yeah.
So I will go for 5%.
Sushil bhai?
This rate notification is definitely containing that provision that the same rate will apply, which is applicable to the goods. So that is mentioned. And if you go by that, then the different point of discussion is also arising. Suppose you are hiring a vehicle, which is a high-end vehicle, where GST rate was 28%. And why the 28% is not payable on leasing? Why we are talking about 18%? It is applicable in both ends.
Both ends.
Like goods vehicle, most of the goods vehicle are taxable at 8%. So GST should be charged for leasing there at 28% only, where people fails to pay, to my understanding. So I go with the views that rate notification is containing that particular provision. Whether people are complying that or not, I have doubt in my mind.
Correct.
Rate definitely having this provision.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move towards the next point, question. Adya Sharma. Sir, could you please repeat what is
Sir, but there is one AAR of Karnataka. I'm just, and in the Karnataka AAR ruling, they have mentioned it, leasing of machinery and equipment for personal and household goods on purely financial services basis, no mention of transportation goods vehicle. It is going to be fall under SAC 9966, and accordingly GST rate 18% will be continued to be charged. As such, renting of e-bikes, bicycle would be classified under SAC 9966. So
Yeah.
there is one AAR also, sir.
Okay. So on this point, it will be better if AR is taken up by the person who has asked the question. Yeah. Next, we move to next question. If a property is taken on lease for 15 years under income tax, annual let out value will be taxed for tax purposes. In the same scenario, is the transaction value, the transaction taxable under GST? Concept of annual let out value is not there in GST. Please explain. Naresh sir.
Sir, section 15 is very clear. If the party with whom I am dealing is not my related person, and the consideration is a sole consideration, जो भी मेरे को मिलता है उसके ऊपर नीचे मुझे कुछ मिलता नहीं है, then transaction value will be the value. There is no concept of, the stamp duty valuation or fair market value and other thing. We have to go by section 15(1), which is very, very clear, the transaction value, provided I'm presuming that person is not related person. Yeah.
Correct. Now let's move quickly to the another question. Shalini Jain, can we take credit of GST paid at the time of purchase of under construction building?
We have already discussed, I think so, sir.
We have discussed it. Let's move to the next question. Is ITC available on lease rent paid for land? We have also discussed this.
Hearing has concluded.
Now move to the next question. GST applicable on financial lease as well. The rate of GST commensurate to the rate applicable to the asset. It is okay. Puneet Singh, dear sir, can I claim income tax depreciation on financial lease assets? My client return got defective as the income is shown as an interest and TDS deduction on the full lease rental. Mismatch of income tax in 26 years. Thanks. I think it's a income tax question in GST. Let's answer other question first, then we will come back to this question if time permit. Then Parvesh Kumar, in the case of financial lease, whether GST is not applicable as a consideration is interest, is it necessary that the asset should be in the name of lessee for 1 day, or it can be transferred at the end of the term of the lease? I think Naresh sir, you have covered it.
No, sir, Sushil sir has covered it. He has said that it is basically financial transaction, interest ka transaction hai. Yeah. So, but I have the different view karke. So, but chairman view will prevail, sir.
Yeah. Next. I think Sidco land was not for industrial purpose. That was the one of the clarification. Please discuss about one-time initial lump sum premium on long-term land lease. I think we have covered this. Whether financial lease will, with condition that the goods shall be purchased at the end of the lease, can be considered a service or a purchase of goods. This has also been covered by Naresh sir. Then granting of lease of market and other lease by urban local body, municipal corporations and town panchayat. I think sir, the question is leasing of shops by the municipal corporations and it's a government lease. So reverse charge mechanism will come up, being a service given by the government municipal body. Then next is Ajit Singh Patwa, Faridabad. Sir, my question is pertaining to applicability of GST on assignment of leasehold, that is sale of land or building or both, supply under section 7(1)(a) for a consideration, barter, lease. Is it a I think this complete discussion we have done, Ajit Bhai, and we have answered your all the queries, and I hope you are satisfied with the answers given by our panelist. Next is the Puneet Singh. Dear Kirti sir, क्या बात है कीर्ति सर, आपको स्पेसिफिक है motor vehicle ka right to lease shall be applied and paid at the timing of vehicle, the same rate of the motor vehicle. I think he has clarified, he has given his own view. Next, is GST applicable for vehicles giving on dry leasing? Lease payment only for capital investment, earlier tax in VAT, not in service tax. Dry leasing, Kirti bhai?
Term me first time sun raha hu sir, dry lease.
Dry lease is this is a very common term in the aircraft industry and the shipping industry.
Yeah.
The dry lease bole to, without operator means effective control and possession. You are giving it to the other person. So it is basically, effective control and possession has been given. So in my opinion, whatever rates are applicable to that goods, suppose if we are giving this on the like dry leasing of the barge, whatever rate application of the barge or of the ship, of the aircraft or of the car or the truck, the same rate will be applicable for the dry leasing of the, the asset that you are leasing out, sir.
Got it, sir. So now it's just 5 minutes more. I will take some few important questions. Priyam Shah, sir, from Ahmedabad.
Priyam bhai, kem cho?
whether ICI has represented for ITC on lease transfer of industrial plot.
Sir, chairman will answer.
Yeah. Sushil sir, he is Priyambai is a past vice chairman of WIRC, and he is saying whether ICI is representing on ITC. Shall I give a update, sir?
Yeah,
We met
Please give.
Sanjay Mangal sir, Principal Commissioner, GST Policy Wing, in the last week. We had some informal discussion, not to be quoted anywhere, and they said that it's a matter with the Supreme Court and a group of ministers. Let's see what happens. So already informally we have represented. Next, we are running an office for a semi-commercial property. What will be the liability of GST over both party? Business is covered under GST. I think Naresh sir has taken this. One more question is more specifically.
सेमी कमर्शियल टर्म मुझे मैं पहली बार सुन रहा हूँ. सेमी कमर्शियल बोले तो इट्स लाइक सोफा कम बेड.
आगे का रूम जो है सर वो ऑफिस से पीछे रहते हैं.
ठीक है, चलो फिर सेमी कमर्शियल प्रीडोमिनेटली क्या है सर, दैट विल डिसाइड सर. प्रीडोमिनेटली रेसिडेंस है या प्रीडोमिनेटली सर कमर्शियल है करके, आई थिंक दैट शुड डिसाइड.
Yeah,
Sir, not required to decide. It is a well settled principle in indirect tax that if it is used for both, it will consider beneficial to the department.
Sorry sir.
If it is used for both, it will be considered beneficial to the department.
सर वो तो अनरिटन लॉ है ना.
So it will be considered as commercial. It will not be considered as residential.
Yeah. Now we move to the last question. Whether electricity charges recovered from tenant shown as a reimbursement in invoice liable for GST. Yes, Kirti bhai, then we will conclude. We have 3 minutes.
दो पोजीशन हो सकती है. In pure, मतलब if I am acting like as a pure agent, then कोई तकलीफ नहीं है, दिक्कत नहीं आएगी. But if I am not acting as a pure agent, then it is will be part and parcel of my rental. अगर मैं कुछ भी एडिशनल ले रहा हूँ तो.
Yes,
मैं आपको 3 पोजीशन देता हूँ और मेरा फाइनल व्यू देता हूँ इसमें.
बिल्कुल सर.
Yeah, there is, there's a very disputed issue about this करके. First, so, as Kirti said, am I a pure agent? I am never a pure agent for this, because generally the meter is given in the name of the समझो mall owner, जो भी mall है या shopping complex उसके owner के नाम का देता है, और there are sub meters, and there is in every agreement there is a provided कि we'll recover the transmission loss also. So you are not covering 1-to-1. आपका electricity bill जो है, you take entire recovery. There will be some surplus or some minus, sir. So you are not a pure agent. You are not a pure agent for any of your tenant करके, because there is no such pure agent की condition देखेगा, it never get satisfied. Now I'm coming to the second position. Some of the lawyers are taking, okay, I am doing the electricity sale. Electricity sale is exempted from GST. But in my opinion, you are not doing electricity sale. You are consuming electricity in providing the renting services. So, that argument of electricity expenses, I am selling electricity. You cannot sell electricity under the electricity law. Whatever laws are there across the country, you cannot.
Naresh ji, now situation has changed, and the electricity department is now not taking the burden. Basically, they are entering into an agreement with the landowner or the developer and saying that we will provide you one single meter, high tension line. Up to that position, we will supply you, and further from there, you will supply to all the individual person who is going to use it. So sale of electricity is now permitted. There is no restriction on sale of electricity.
Sir,
even it is an illegal activity. Let me tell you. Even if it is an illegal activity, GST officer has nothing to look into. He has to see whether it is electricity has been sold out. If electricity has been sold out, then it is an exempt supply and no tax is applicable on that. And sir, regarding the transmission loss, I am coming. It is happening. This is not a particular place. Suppose the petroleum are getting sold. The petroleum is outside GST. It is outside GST. It is not that suppose 100 liter of petrol you will supply, and ultimately 98 liter will be delivered to the customer. So 2 liter will be, and he will charge for 100 liter. because whatever you have taken from my soap, I will charge for that. Similar things may happen here. Only we have to properly argue it. Some of the cases which is coming up, where they are taking responsibility of maintenance of cable, maintenance of the lines, and therefore that their charges are included into this. But
Sir,
under no circumstances, sale of electricity can be challenged, and to my understanding, it is liable for no GST. And for the information of the house, I have got refund also. My landowner has charged, and we have filed the refund claim, and ultimately it was granted to us that there is no tax on electricity. So the person who has bear the burden of the tax was allowed to take the refund of the same.
great,
So
sir.
it is all
Great,
depend how you present your case. Even your transition loss, normal transition loss is allowed. So many goods are sold considering the normal transit loss. If you sell the coal 1,000 1 metric ton, it will not be delivered 1 metric ton.
Correct,
It will
sir.
ultimately be delivered some less quantity.
Sir, the basic issue here is, am I a trader of electricity or I am consuming the electricity in course of providing the renting service?
I am not consuming. I am not consuming, sir. The switch is owned by the tenant, and the switch is under his control, and he want to use. So whenever he will switch on, he will consume the electricity. I am not consuming. I am only a person, middleman, who is procuring from the landowner, the electric supply company, and supplying to this gentleman. Yes, but if you say that my rent is fixed electricity charges, the light charges we will consider that rent is 2,000 rupees, 200 rupees is the electricity consumption. Definitely, it is not sale of electricity. Then definitely it will not come under the exemption.
Okay, sir. I
So,
think
sir, we agree to disagree, sir, on this point, and someday we'll discuss on greater detail, because we have, in at least Maharashtra.
Sir, unless the seminar or conferences ends by the confusion to the delegates, it is not a successful conference.
So it's not a confusion, sir. It is, we are giving two ways, sir. Right and left hand. जिसको जहाँ जाना है जावे करके.
नहीं यहाँ बहुत important है सर कि जो what is the agreement entered with the electricity company, and in Maharashtra you have said, Naresh sir, so we have to check that, and accordingly.
I tell you, this was a very bigger problem in the service tax era, because the people were not getting the ITC credit of that June 2017 tak. Abhi now what has happened, I am taking a business call, because if you are charging the GST on that, most of your tenants are getting in the commercial complexes, they are getting the ITC credit. So I am not seeing that much resistance. So I am if I am a owner of the premises, I will take a commercial call or other legal call can be chargeable to hai karke. It's not it is 50-50 hai, chalo na. Chairman साहब बोलता है तो 70% है, लेकिन 30% भी मेरे risk litigation है. तो why I should this is something which is been taken after 1st July 2017. Perhaps this issue has been slightly diluted.
Okay, on the basis of ITC.
Yeah.
So
let's Then Naresh sir, if you are not going to lose anything, you will set the principle in that direction. That is not permitted. If you are, again I will repeat, which I was telling in the beginning, if some tax has been charged which is not chargeable, ITC for that may be denied to you. ITC is not available to you if some wrong tax has been charged. That is also one of the viewpoint coming emerging, that if our officer may tomorrow say that he was not a rightly charged tax, because the definition of GST credit, if you read properly, then there may be issue arising. So over to Umesh Bhai for vote of thanks. Before that, I have an important announcement to make. Please keep on watching the announcements by the GST and Indirect Tax Committee. The next program, which the webcast which we are going to organize, is regarding this instruction issued by the CBIC or regarding this cancellation or suspension of the
verification
registration. They talk about the identification. They are not so. The identification and suspension or cancellation of the GST registration for fake SSCs, and people are worried about it. But one thing I must say, I have spoken one of the member of the National Coordination Committee. There is a National Coordination Committee has been formed for this particular purpose, and I have discussed, and he were not aware that people are so much worried. So I am telling all of you through this platform that nothing to worry if your registration is not fake.
Yeah.
Only you have to worry if your registration is fake. Then this is a cause of concern for the person whose registration is taken with some invalid documents or improper declarations.
Yes.
So we will definitely organize a discussion, and definitely we will try to some senior government officials be present there, what they exactly want to do and how they want to move in this drive. Thank you very much for all the participants. For the purpose of both my learned speaker, 730 persons are still online viewing this program. So we consider this is a good organized program by GST and Indirect Tax Committee, and Umesh Bhai as always a good moderator. So thanks to Umesh Bhai and both the speaker. Now for formal vote of thanks, I request Umesh Sharma sir to offer this.
Yes, thank you, sir. Let's conclude with the note that yes, leasing is a different type of transaction. Please refer to the documents. Please refer to the contracts. Please refer to the particular asset, movable, immovable, commercial, residential, long term, short term, and then take a conclusion. And I'm very happy that Naresh sir has so much of knowledge and encyclopedia. And sir, hats off to your enthusiasm. You are just flowing, and that shows that you want to give to the participant lot of the things which you have. Sir, hats off, sir. Keep your enthusiasm. I will pray to the God that your energy level should be go high and high. And when we move to Kirti bhai, your name itself is a Kirtiman, and the way you handle the questions, the way patiently you answer the questions, and the way you simplify your answers, that shows that the subject may be complex, but whenever there is a question to Kirti, it will come out simplified. So this is a very important aspect of a personality. You give him a complex subject, he will simplify and give it to you. Hats off to Kirti bhai for your knowledge and your deliberation. And last, thanks to Chairman sir. Thanks to all the technical support team who are there in the background, who are organizing this webinar, Preet, Ajay, our secretary, Smita ma'am, and technical team. And at the end, most important, thanks to all participants for being online from last 2 hours and taking part actively, asking questions and getting the feedbacks. Your feedbacks are at most important. Please give your feedbacks about these sessions and also related to the topics. So I'm signing off for the day. Thank you, Naresh sir. Thank you, Kirti bhai. Thank you, Sushil sir. Okay.
Bye, Sushil sir. Bye, Umesh ji.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Thank you, sir.
for a virtual platform. Yeah.
Yeah.